I knew something was different the moment she said my name. Not the usual clipped tone of authority, but softer, like she was tasting the word before letting it go. Eli, she said from the doorway. Step into my office for a moment. There were a dozen other people still at their desks, but it felt like the whole floor went quiet. Maybe it was just me. Maybe it was the way she didn't look away, her hand resting on the doorknob like she was deciding something. Ms. Hartley, my boss, mid-40s, composed, sharp in every detail. Even her silences seemed to have structure. And me, 26, still learning how to hide the pulse behind my voice when she asked me questions that shouldn't have felt personal. The door clicked shut behind me. Then, the soft sound of the lock sliding into place. No one had ever told me her office could feel like this, dim, warm, almost too still. Her desk lamp was the only light on, spilling a low amber glow across her hands. Her papers, the faint curve of her wrist as she turned a pen between her fingers. You've been different lately, she said. I tried to swallow, but my throat felt tight. Different how? She smiled, small and knowing. Distracted. She was right. I had been. Because of her. Because every time she leaned beside me to look at a report, the faint scent of her perfume, something clean like citrus and skin, made the words on the screen blur. I didn't mean to be, I said. I know. She leaned back, eyes holding mine a moment too long. That's why I called you in. She stood, moving around the desk. I noticed how carefully she did it, measured steps but slower than usual. Her hand brushed the corner of the desk as she passed, fingertips grazing the wood, as if to ground herself. I couldn't look away. When she stopped a few feet from me, the space between us felt charged, like the pause before thunder. Do you like working here? She asked. Yeah, Ido. Her eyes flicked down, then back up. Good. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of things neither of us could say. I could hear the faint hum of the building's air vents, the soft rhythm of my own heartbeat in my ears. She crossed her arms, not defensively, but as if to stop her hands from doing something else. You're ambitious. I see that. I nodded. Trying to be. Her mouth curved, half a smile, half a sigh. Don't try too hard. You'll miss what's right in front of you. Her tone was calm, but her eyes gave her away. There was something raw behind them, a flicker of weariness or maybe recognition. I said her name, too softly. Ms. Hartley, she exhaled, barely audible, then shook her head, a small motion that didn't quite reach conviction. For a second, she reached out, her hand lifted, hesitated midair, then brushed my sleeve as if by accident. The touch was nothing, and everything. The clock on the wall ticked once, twice. I shouldn't keep you, she murmured, but she didn't move toward the door. Neither did I. The air felt thick, charged, almost unreal. Then, 3 sharp knocks from the other side of the door. Her hand dropped instantly. The sound jolted us both back into the world. Come in, she said, her voice steady again. But her eyes, still on me, said something entirely different. And in that moment, I knew nothing about this job would ever feel simple again. The knock had broken the spell, but it didn't erase it. Even hours later, her voice lingered in my head, that careful calm she used when she was holding something back. By the time I was gathering my things to leave, most of the office had emptied out. Only her light still glowed at the end of the hallway. The soft click of her keyboard carried faintly through the quiet. I told myself I should just go. Instead, I found myself walking toward her door. It was half open this time. She looked up when she heard me, eyes tired but gentle. You're still here. I was finishing the quarterly reports, I said. Thought you might still need. She gave a faint laugh. You really don't stop, do you? I could say the same about you. Her expression softened at that. Then she leaned back, rubbing her temple. That's the problem. I don't know how. For a moment, she looked human in a way I hadn't seen before. The kind of tired that doesn't come from work, the kind that comes from holding too much inside. I hesitated by the doorframe. Long day. She gave a small nod. Long few years. That answer hung in the air. I wanted to ask more, but she turned her chair slightly toward the window, gaze lost somewhere in the city lights. Do you ever feel, she said quietly, like you've already lived the same day too many times? I thought of my own routine, the endless proving, pretending I didn't notice the way she filled the room when she entered. Yeah, I said. All the time. She smiled faintly. You're too young to say that. You're too smart to believe it, I said before I could stop myself. That made her laugh, soft, surprised. Carethol, Ellie. You'll get yourself in trouble. Her tone was teasing, but her eyes weren't. There was warmth there, and something else, something cautious. She stood, walked past me to the file cabinet. The scent of her perfume brushed by again, light, sharp, with something floral I couldn't name. When she reached for a folder on the top shelf, her hand brushed my arm. Neither of us moved. Her fingers lingered just a second too long. Not quite a touch, but enough to make my breath catch. She withdrew her hand slowly, smoothing a page that didn't need smoothing. It's late, she said. You should go home. I wanted to, but my voice didn't follow. You should too. She turned toward me, that same small smile that said she knew exactly what I meant, and exactly what I couldn't say. I might, she said. The space between us went quiet again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was charged, alive, like the pause before someone finally tells the truth. She met my eyes one last time. Good night, Ellie. The way she said it, soft, deliberate, almost tender, stayed with me long after I left the office. And as the elevator doors closed, I realized I didn't just want to impress her anymore. I wanted to understand her. The morning after lingered like fog, the kind you can't see through, but can feel sitting heavy in the air. When I stepped into the office, she was already there. Miss Hartley stood by the window, speaking quietly on the phone, light spilling across her shoulders. She turned when she heard me, eyes meeting mine for a heartbeat too long. Morning, I said. She nodded, voice low. Morning. We both knew what we weren't mentioning. By noon, the unspoken had started to ache. Every time I passed her office, she avoided looking up, except once when she did, and the glance was enough to make my pulse stutter. That afternoon, she called me in again. We need to review the new client proposal, she said. Close the door. Her tone was professional, but her hand hesitated on the file. She sat beside me this time, not behind the desk. The air felt different, close, heavy with everything we hadn't said. We leaned over the same set of papers. My sleeve brushed hers. Neither of us moved away. Does this look right to you? She asked, but her voice was quieter now. I looked down at the paper, saw nothing. My focus was the small space between our arms, the way her breath touched my skin when she leaned closer. Eli, she said softly. Yeah. She turned her head just enough that our eyes met. For a second, the distance between us stopped existing. A knock shattered it. We both flinched. Her assistant's voice came through the door. MS. Hartley? The regional director's here a bit early. Tell him I'll be right there, she said, a fraction too fast. The assistant hesitated, then walked away. Silence fell again, louder than before. She exhaled, trying to smile, but it trembled. We shouldn't, I know. Neither of us moved. Her hand still rested on the paper, inches from mine. The corner of the page fluttered slightly under the air vent. I can't afford people talking, she said, her voice almost breaking into a whisper. Not about this. There's nothing to talk about, I said. But even as I said it, the words rang false. She looked at me then, really looked. Don't make this harder than it already is. I'm not trying to, but I was. Because she wasn't just my boss anymore. She was every quiet thought I couldn't shut off. Her hand moved, hesitant, deliberate, until her fingers brushed the back of mine. It wasn't a full touch. It was an accident that stayed too long. The light from the window dimmed as clouds rolled in, shadows curling across her desk. We stayed like that, still suspended, until another sound broke through, the faint buzz of her phone. A message preview lit up the screen. A man's name. A few words. Dinner tonight? She turned it face down, her eyes finding mine again, something fragile flickering there. I have to go, she said quietly. Okay. But neither of us moved right away. The clock ticked once, twice. Then, in the smallest voice, she said, You make this job harder than it's supposed to be. I smiled barely. Guess we're both bad at pretending. Her breath caught, and for one dangerous second, it felt like we might close that last inch between us. But she stood instead, the movement slow, controlled. Go home, Eli. I did. But as I left, I could feel her gaze on my back, like a touch she wasn't ready to give, but couldn't take back either. It started raining just after dusk. The kind of rain that presses against the windows and turns the city into a blur of lights and movement. I was packing up when my phone buzzed. A message from her. "Can you stop by my office for a minute?" My pulse jumped. I told myself it was just work. It always was, but my feet moved before I could think twice. Her office was half dark when I arrived, the glow from her desk lamp casting everything in gold and shadow. She stood by the window, arms crossed, staring out at the storm. "You wanted to see me?" She didn't turn right away. Closed the door. The sound of it clicking shut was too familiar now. "I heard," she said finally, still facing the glass, "that people have been asking questions. About you. About us." Her reflection met mine in the window, two shapes blurred by rain. I swallowed. "What are they saying?" "That you spend too much time in here." She paused. "That I do." I took a step closer. "Do you want me to stop?" She turned then, eyes sharp but tired. "That's not the point." "Then what is?" Her hands clenched, then opened. "The point is, I should know better." The words hit harder than I expected. "You think this is just, I don't know what this is." Her voice cracked slightly. "You make it impossible to think straight." Something inside me broke open at that. The restraint, the pretending. I closed the distance between us, slow but certain. She didn't move back. "You could have told me to stay away," I said quietly. "I tried, but you didn't." She laughed once, soft and defeated. "No, I didn't." We stood inches apart now. I could see the raindrops sliding down the glass behind her, the faint tremor in her hand where it hung at her side. Her gaze flicked to my mouth and back up fast. "This can't happen," she whispered. I nodded. "Then why does it feel like it already has?" She looked at me as if I'd said something dangerous. Then she exhaled, long and shaky, and lifted a hand, slow, uncertain, to push a stray lock of hair off her face. When her fingers brushed my wrist, I caught them without thinking. Her breath caught. Yeah, I didn't answer. The air between us felt alive, thunder outside, electricity inside. She stepped closer, barely. I could feel the warmth of her against me, her perfume faint under the scent of rain. "Tell me to leave," I said. She shook her head, eyes glistening in the low light. "I can't." Her voice was a whisper, but it hit like a confession. I leaned forward, just enough that my words brushed her ear. "Then don't." Her lips parted, not in words, but in something halfway between surrender and disbelief. For a heartbeat, the world went silent. The storm, the office, everything else disappeared. And then a sharp knock. We froze. Her hand was still in mine. The door handle began to turn. The door swung open before either of us could move. "MS. Hartley." Her assistant froze in the doorway, eyes flicking between us, too quickly to catch anything, too slowly to erase what she saw. Miss Hartley stepped back first. Her hand slipped from mine as if burned. "What is it, Dana?" "The regional director's been trying to reach you," Dana said, her voice careful. "He asked if you were still in the building." "Tell him I'll call back," Miss Hartley replied, smooth, professional, almost too composed. When Dana left, the silence she left behind was unbearable. "She saw," I said quietly. She saw nothing, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. She walked to her desk, straightening papers that didn't need it. The small, automatic motions of someone holding a wall together. I stayed where I was. "Do you believe that?" Her shoulders rose, then fell. "It doesn't matter what I believe." Something inside me hardened. "You're afraid of what people think." She turned sharply. "You think this is about reputation? Isn't it?" She opened her mouth, stopped. Then, softer, "You don't know what I've already lost because of people talking." The words landed like a confession. I hesitated. "What do you mean?" She looked away. 3 years ago. A rumor. Someone decided my promotion wasn't earned. That it was helped. My stomach tightened. Was it true? Her eyes flashed. "No, but truth doesn't matter once the whisper starts." I stepped closer. "That's why you keep everyone at a distance." She didn't deny it. "I'm not them," I said. "I know," she whispered. We were close again. Too close. The air felt thin between us. I could see the faint tremor in her hand where it rested on the desk. her pulse just visible at the base of her throat. "I tried to ignore this," she said. "You make it impossible." Her honesty hit harder than any rejection. I took another step, slow, until I was right in front of her. Then stopped trying. For a second, she didn't breathe. Then she reached for the edge of the desk, gripping it like she needed it to stand. "This is wrong," she said. "It can't happen." I leaned in, my voice low, close to her ear. "Then why are you shaking?" Her breath caught. Her eyes flicked to mine, something wild, unguarded breaking through. "Because you don't understand," she said, almost pleading. "Then tell me." Her jaw tightened. She looked at me, long enough that it hurt, then said it. "Dana isn't the only one who saw." The director was in the hallway. The words hit like cold water. She pressed a hand to her temple, whispering, "He's already asked to meet tomorrow morning." "What's he going to do?" "I don't know." Her voice cracked. "But whatever happens next, it won't just be about work." We stood in the dim light, too close, too quiet, both knowing that something irreversible had just begun. And still, neither of us stepped back. Morning came gray and heavy, the kind of light that drains color from everything it touches. I waited outside her office, heart pounding like I was about to face a verdict. Through the glass, I could see the regional director inside, his tone clipped, his gestures sharp. She stood behind her desk, motionless except for her hands twisting slightly at her side. 10 minutes passed, then 15. When he finally left, he didn't look at me. The door closed behind him with a sound that felt final. She didn't move at first, then quietly come in. Her voice was calm, but her eyes weren't. I stepped inside. "What did he say?" "That we're being watched," she said. "That my leadership is under review." The word review hung in the air, like a sentence neither of us could appeal. "I'm sorry," I said. She shook her head. "You didn't do anything wrong." "I did," I said. "I made this harder for you." Her lips parted as if to argue, then closed again. "You think this is just about me?" I didn't answer. She came around the desk, moving slowly, deliberately. "Do you think I don't see what this is doing to you?" "I can handle it." Her laugh was small, almost broken. "No, you can't. Neither of us can." The distance between us shrank until her perfume, soft and clean and too familiar, filled the air between our breaths. "I told myself it was just admiration," she said. "Then it was concern. But it's not that anymore." I could feel the pull in her voice, the edge of something she'd been fighting too long. "Then what is it?" I asked, stepping closer. She looked up at me, eyes glassy in the pale morning light. "It's the thing I swore I'd never let happen again." Her hand came up, brushing my shirt lightly as if to push me back, but she didn't. The touch lingered, fingers trembling, resting just over my heartbeat. "Tell me to stop," I said. She didn't. Instead, she closed the space between us until her forehead touched mine. A quiet exhale, shared air, the sound of rain starting again outside. "We'll lose everything," she whispered. "Maybe," I said, "but at least it'll be ours." Her breath hitched, a sound caught between a sob and a sigh. Then she stepped back. Just one step, but it felt like miles. "No," she said softly. "Not like this. Not if it means you'll carry the same regrets I have." I swallowed hard. "So that's it." Her eyes found mine, calm now, certain. "No, that's understanding." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she reached out, fingers brushing my cheek, a touch so light it barely existed. "If the world were different," she said, "you and I wouldn't have to be." I caught her hand, held it once, then let it go. The rain hit harder against the glass. The office lights flickered on, and for the first time, the silence between us didn't ache. It just was. We both knew what we were walking away from, and why. It had been 2 weeks since that morning, since the rain, the almost kiss, the choice neither of us wanted to make. In the days that followed, she'd been different. Still composed, still herself, but quieter. We passed in hallways, exchanged polite words that carried too much weight. I told myself it was better this way, clean, professional, safe. But safety had never felt so hollow. On our last day, she called me in. The office was half-packed, boxes stacked neatly, the desk stripped bare except for one coffee mug and a single folder. "You're really leaving?" I said. She smiled faintly. They made it clear I had to. I just made it look like my idea. I tried to laugh, but it came out thin. You don't deserve that. Maybe not. But sometimes walking away is the only way to keep what matters intact. I nodded, not trusting my voice. She stepped closer, the soft click of her heels the only sound in the empty room. You've grown here, she said. More than you realize. Her tone was gentle, almost maternal, almost something else. It caught me off guard. You're the reason, I said. You made me want to be better. Her breath hitched just slightly. That's not a small thing to hear. For a moment, the air shifted, that same pull returning, quieter now, more human than dangerous. She reached out, fingers brushing the sleeve of my shirt, letting her hand rest there. We could have been reckless, she said, and maybe we wanted to be. But what we had, even just this, means something because we didn't ruin it. I looked at her, memorizing the lines around her eyes, the steadiness that had always drawn me in. I don't regret any of it, I said. Good, she whispered. Neither do I. Outside, the rain had stopped. The clouds had broken into soft light, the kind that makes everything look cleaner, renewed. She handed me the folder. It's the transition plan. You'll be fine. When I took it, our fingers overlapped. The smallest contact, but full of everything we couldn't say. Then she did something I didn't expect. She stepped forward, wrapping her arms around me. Not a brief, polite hug, but a long, real one. Her chin rested lightly against my shoulder, her breath warm against my neck. Thank you, she said quietly, for seeing me. I closed my eyes. Always. When she pulled back, there was a peace in her face I hadn't seen before. Not regret, not longing, just understanding. She smiled, touched my cheek once, then turned toward the door. Goodbye, Eli. But she paused there, hand on the knob, and looked back. Keep something of this, she said softly, even if it's just the way it felt. And then she was gone. I stood in the quiet office, the echo of her perfume still in the air, and smiled to myself. Not broken, not waiting, just full. Because some endings aren't about losing. They're about finally knowing what was real.